Okay, so this is the lymphatic system. This is a fairly short one, okay? So lymphatic system. It's really the system that is going to bridge the circulatory system with the immune system, okay? So lymphatics. It's basically two independent parts that are making up this lymphatic system. Where we have lymphatic vessels, just vessels to connect the lymphatic organs, and then we have, of course, we got the lymphoid organs. Okay, the fluid that's going to be running through these lymphatic vessels we refer to as lymph. Okay, and it comes from the interstitial fluid, which we'll talk about. So what we got here is this is the parts of the lymphatic system. We have the lymph and lymphatics. The lymph and the lymphatic vessels, of course. Then we have the lymphatic tissue. We got nodules, lymph nodes, tonsils, spleen, and thymus. So we're going to talk about the lymph nodes. That's probably one of the major organs that we have here. They're about the size of peas. Okay. Then we have tonsils and spleens, and basically these are more or less just a larger version of the lymph nodes. All right, the structure themselves, the architecture inside the tonsils and spleen, a little bit different, but they're basically acting the same way as these lymph nodes. And the thymus is completely different. We'll get into what that does. Now, looking at this picture, I do want you to make note, and we're going to talk about this in a few moments, the way this system is set up. If you can notice that it's basically 75%, 25%. We have 25% that is going to appear as this area here being green. And that's going to be covering the right arm, the right side of the head, and the right torso. Okay? So that's what's happening over here. And then we have this 75% that is not green. It's more like a beige color. I do want you to make point of that 25, 75. I'm going to get back to what that actually is meaning. It's basically how the drainage of the lymphatics are going to be taking place. So the tonsils, we have the pharyngeal tonsils that are located. The pharyngeal tonsils are also known as the adenoids. If you ever heard of someone getting their adenoids removed, pharyngeal tonsils are the same thing. You really can't see it. I know this is showing it in the mouth. If you show, it's difficult to actually see it. It's in back of the nasal cavity. So we have pharyngeal tonsils up there. We have the palatine tonsils, and those are the ones you can definitely see. And they're going to be on either side of the archway where the oral cavity becomes the pharynx, okay, which is the back of the throat. These are the ones that we're mostly concerned about when they get infected, because what happens is as these get infected, then these are going to enlarge. And if these are going to enlarge, it's going to block the airway, and that's going to be difficulty breathing. Sometimes these can also get infected, and they can come down, so then it's going to block the airway this way. So these are usually the ones that do get removed during, let's say, tonsillectomy. You hear that often with children, right? So you have the tonsils removed. They're talking about more or less the palatine tonsils, and the adenoids or the pharyngeal tonsils may or may not be removed. Then we've got another tonsil that's located on the back of the tongue, and that's called the lingual tonsil. Okay, that's also very difficult to see through the mouth. You got to really bring down that tongue depressor to get to that area there to visualize that. So those are the three tonsils that we'll be dealing with in here. Now the functions of the lymphatic system. All right. Basically, what's going to happen here is that we talked about this with the circulation, that the fluid balance, if remember what's going to happen here. We'll draw this again, if you remember from circulation. If we have, let's say, capillaries over here, we talked about Starling's forces with oncotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure. If this is your capillary, and this is the arterial end of the capillary, and this is the venous end of the capillary, and I'm not going to go through that oncotic pressure or osmotic pressure and the hydrostatic pressure. Just go back to circulation to understand that. But keep in mind that the fluid is going to go, and this is interstitial tissue on either side of the capillaries. So the fluid will go out like this, and then it'll go right back in, right? So it's kind of like a wave. It's, as the pressure goes into the capillary, it's going to go up into the interstitial area, and this is going to be building up pressure, and then it's going to go back. It's going to go whoop and back in. The only thing is, the way the physics works is that 30 liters will go out there, but only 27 liters comes back. That means there's a difference of 3 liters that doesn't come back. That 3 liters, we need to make sure that it goes back into the circulation. Otherwise, it's going to sit there, and that's something that we call edema. All right? So we need to make sure that that 3 liters that's still sitting in the interstitial fluid somehow goes back. Well, that's what the lymphatics are going to be doing. The lymphatics are vessels that are found in interstitial areas that are going to take up that extra amount of fluid that didn't go back into the capillaries, and that 3 liters of fluid is then going to go into the lymphatics. It's known as lymph, and then it's going to go into the capillaries, which will show you how that happens. Okay? So that's what's happening with what at least the functions to deal with the fluid balance. Okay? Other functions, you'll learn a little bit more about this when we get into the digestive system, but there are modified lymphatic vessels that are found in the gut that is going to be able to absorb fatty products. You see, the fatty products, the fats that you're eating, when your body digests them, they're not going to be able to, they're still pretty big, and they can't get into the bloodstream because they're too big. So what happens is they're going to get absorbed into the lymphatic systems, and these lymphatics will bring it into the bloodstream in a different manner, okay? And these modified lymphatics are known as lacteals, all right? And the lymphatic system is going to act like a defense mechanism. So the way I kind of visualize the lymphatic system in terms of defense, it's kind of like customs. Going to a foreign country, and then you got to go back into our country, we got to go into customs. So what's happening here is that this fluid that's going to go out there, well, some things that are in that fluid could be viruses, could be cancer cells, could be bacteria. Well, what happens is that fluid that's going to go into here, some of it will go back, but the other 3 liters will still have those things I just mentioned, cancer cells and bacteria and viruses. Well, what happens is that these lymphatics are going to be somehow connected with lymph nodes, lymphoid tissue. And this is what's important. What happens here is as the fluid goes through here, these are customs. You see, when you go to a foreign country and then you come back to America, they want to make sure you're not bringing back drugs, knives, those things. So what's happening is that the fluid goes into interstitial area, and they need to go through these customs. And in the custom area, these lymph nodes and other lymphoid tissues, they're going to check that fluid to see if there's any cancer cells or bacteria, and that's where they're going to destroy them. You ever hear of, like, you have some kind of infection, people say, oh, your nodes are enlarged. Well, what they're talking about is that these lymph nodes are congested, that the cells in here, the good cells, the white blood cells and stuff like that, they're in here and they're doing their job. they're trying to destroy and get rid of those bacteria and viruses and cancer cells. So there's going to be a lot of, if you want to call it, commotion going on here. So this gets enlarged and gets enlarged because there's a lot of foreign things that are going to be happening in there that the white blood cells and the other cells, the immune system is going to try and destroy. Okay? So that's what's happening with that. So those are really the three major functions of the lymphatics. And we'll definitely explain all about what's happening with the defense here with the white blood cells and how they're killing the viruses and so forth. That's the immune system, which is a big subject. After this, we'll start talking about the immune system. Okay? All right, so we've been talking about this lymph. What's in lymph? All right, well, water solutes from two sources. From plasma, we have the ions, the nutrients, gases. So it's the stuff that comes from the blood. Okay, it's not, well, you're not going to get red blood cells in there, but you are going to get the plasma to go in there. And we talked about what's in plasma, all those things there. You also have cells that'll have hormones, enzymes, waste products that comes from cells. That'll also be into this area. And that fluid, or those things that are in the lymph, needs to get back into the bloodstream. So we're going to show you what's going on with that. Okay, so we got to get there. These lymphatics will eventually go into veins. So this is a great picture to help you understand the overview of what we're talking about here. So we have the arteries in red over here and the veins that are in blue. And this big block of beige area is the tissues. So the interstitial area that you see over here. So what happens here is that as the fluid, let me get my pointer, as the fluid, well, let me use my finger. As the fluid goes out there into interstitial fluid, so you have 30 liters going out, 27 liters will come back into the venous system over here. That leaves 3 liters that are sitting out here. So we have the lymphatics that is going to take that 3 liters and bring it back into the venous system over here. They're bigger. They're able to pick up that extra amount so that it can go back into the circulatory system. So this is a great picture to visualize where the lymphatics are in connection with the circulatory system. Okay? But keep in mind that the lymphatics, the lymph is going in the same direction as the blood in the veins go, right? They're going to go back to the heart. Okay? So lymphatic vessels. All right? There's a one-way system. And again, whenever we hear a one-way system, there must be valves. Valves are going to ensure that the fluid is going to go one way. We see valves in veins. We see valves in the lymphatic vessels to make sure it doesn't go backwards. All right? So lymphatic vessels are all over our body, except we're not going to have any in the nervous system. There's none in the bone marrow. And tissues that just don't have blood vessels, you're not going to have the lymphatic vessels there either. Things like cartilage and the cornea of your eye and the epidermis. Okay? So that's what's going on with this. All right? So again, there are many valves, okay, that are found in there, and it's kind of showing you what they kind of look like. They're similar to the valves that are found in the veins. Okay, so again, this is just to ensure one way that the blood, or not the blood, but the lymph is going to go. Okay, so we have lymphatic capillaries. They join to form lymphatic vessels. The lymphatic vessels, there's valves there to ensure that one way, and then we have these lymph nodes, which I'm kind of showing you where they are over here. We got a lot of lymph nodes. Okay, they're distributed along the vessels that you can see over here. And they kind of filter the lymph to try and get rid of all the viruses and bacteria, the foreign products, cancer cells, and so forth. And we abbreviate, we also abbreviate lymph nodes with LN quite often. All right, and then we have lymphatic trunks, and these are the typical ones that we have. We have what's known over with the subclavian lymphatic trunk and so forth. We have lymphatic ducts, which drain the tissues of the body and move lymph into these major vessels. Now, remember how I talked about before that the 75% versus the 25%? This is where it comes in. We have the right lymphatic duct is going to drain that 25% that was in green in that picture before. All right, so it's not even. It's not 50% on the left and 50% on the right being drained that way. It's only 25%. All right, so the right lymphatic duct is going to drain the right side of the head, the right upper limb, and the right thorax. However, something called the thoracic duct is going to take care of both legs, the left torso, the left arm, and the left side of the head. Okay? That's important because when we get into things about cancer, and you had cancer that would be located on the right leg, it's going to be draining on the left side. But if you had cancer in the right arm, that would be draining on the right side. So you gotta, when you get into pathophysiology and diseases, you gotta follow these paths and understand that concept. So this again is where that is. Again, you have the 25% in light green, and you have the 75% that's being drained over here. So the 25% is drained by the right lymphatic duct, whereas the remainder, the other 75%, is going to be drained by the thoracic duct. Okay? And this is a picture where it's trying to show you where it's going. This is the lymphatic duct going up. Yeah, the lymphatic duct that's going up here. Okay? And that drains into the left subclavian vein. Then we have the right lymphatic duct that drains in the right subclavian vein. Okay? It's not symmetrical, okay? And it's just a close-up showing you those 2 points of where they're draining in the right and left subclavian veins. Okay? So we have lymphatic capillaries, all right? During inflammation, the lymph capillaries will absorb the cell debris, pathogens, cancer cells, just as I explained to you with the lymph nodes over here, all right? So the capillaries will eventually get to the lymph nodes, okay? Cells in the lymph nodes will examine this debris just the way customs works at the airports. They're going to examine the people coming back to the United States to make sure they're not bringing anything that's illegal. Same thing here, they're checking to see if there's any cancer cells, because they'll try and destroy them, okay? The lacteals, as I mentioned before, are modified lymphatics that are going to help to absorb the digested fats that you eat. And you'll learn more about that when you get into the digestive system, okay? Lymphatic collecting ducts, they have 3 different layers or tunics as much as the veins do, okay? They have thinner walls with much more internal valves when compared to veins. The anastomoses, they kind of come together, they merge more frequently than we see with veins, okay? And the collecting vessels in the skin travel with the superficial veins, not the deep veins, all right? Deep vessels travel with arteries, okay? And nutrients are supplied by branching vasa vasorum that we talked about. Remember, vasa vasorum are blood vessels that give blood supply to the walls of blood vessels. In this case, the vasa vasorum is also going to give nutrients and oxygen to the walls of the lymphatics, okay? Just very small blood vessels. Lymphatic trunks, they're formed by the union of the largest collecting ducts, And we have major trunks that are located in these areas over here. Okay? Again, that 25-75% is crucial for you to know. Okay? The right lymphatic duct will drain the right upper arm and the right upper side of the head and thorax. It drains 25% of the body, where, the thoracic duct arises from, and I'll show you where that cisterna is, but the thoracic duct is going to drain the remaining 75% of the body. Okay? Again, you can see this great picture here of this 25-75%. Okay? And what gets drained from what. All right, same picture. Oh, and I also, no, you don't see it here. So I also want to show you, we have the lumbar trunks over here. Remember, we're talking about trunks. So here's the lumbar trunks. They will merge into a big bulgy area here called the cisterna chyli. From there, you're going to have this long thoracic duct that will drain into the left subclavian vein. Okay? Again, just a close-up of the two subclavian veins, the right and left, and you can see where they'll be draining. There's a thoracic duct draining into the left subclavian vein. Okay? And again, you can see the 75, 25%. All right, so let's talk about some of this lymphatic tissue. Okay, lymphatic organs, they contain lymphatic tissue, which has the lymphocytes, the macrophages, and dendritic cells. The stuff we kind of talked about with hematology. We mentioned in there, and we're going to talk a lot more about it when we get to the immune systems. It's kind of like I said, this lymphatic system is bridging the circulation with the immune system. All right, so we'll be talking a lot more about this in the immune system. Lymphocytes, all right, these are the main cells in our immune system. They will protect the body against antigens. Antigens, again, are markers on foreign things, but they're also on all our own cells, and those are markers. Our body will pick up that marker, that antigen, and decide if that is friend or foe. Meaning, like, is it something that we want to attack, or is it something we don't want to attack? We want to attack anything that's foreign, but we don't want to attack anything that's going to be that belongs to us, right? That's a part of our self, right? So an antigen is anything the body perceives as foreign. Bacteria have antigens. They're toxins, the viruses, mismatched red blood cells, or cancer cells. But do understand that antigens are on everything. It's just the immune system is going to decipher, is it something that we could recognize and we don't want to attack, or is it something we can't recognize and we should attack, right? We have two types of lymphocytes, T cells and B cells, okay? The T stands for thymus. So these are cells, so they're both lymphocytes. Lymphocytes that mature in the thymus will be called T cells. Lymphocytes that get mature in the bone marrow, and that's what the B stands for, are going to be referred to as B cells. Okay? B cells are also the ones responsible for making antibodies. T cells manage the immune response, and they're going to attack and destroy foreign cells, whereas, like I said, B cells, they're going to become plasma cells, and these plasma cells are the ones that are going to secrete antibodies. And these antibodies will stop these antigens from causing mayhem in your body. Okay? So, and I usually abbreviate antigen with AG and antibody with AB, but I use those abbreviations when we did the ABO blood grouping. Okay? Other lymphoid cells, macrophages. Remember, macrophages are engulfing cells. They like to phagocytize. So they're going to phagocytize foreign substances and help activate T cells. Okay? Dendritic cells act very similar to macrophages, but they come from a different origin, and they look a little bit different. They have these spiny areas on the cell itself, but they work basically the same way as macrophages. Okay? We also have reticular cells, and these are fibroblast-like cells that produce the stroma, the architecture that is found in the lymphoid organs. Okay? And they kind of act like a filter to trap the microorganisms. So you're looking at in here, if we didn't have it's kind of like a web, right? So the reticular cells are going to develop the architecture inside here, develop a web so that the fluid can get through it, but if there's any foreign things, stem cell, or not stem cells, cancer cells or bacteria, they're going to be caught up in the web so that the lymphocytes and macrophages do their thing to destroy them. Okay? So that's what the reticular cells are doing up there. Okay? The lymphoid tissue, okay, it's scattered reticular tissue. That's the elements in every body organ. And it's basically, well, I'll show you a picture so you can actually see what's going on. But the this diffuse lymphoid tissue is going to have nodules in there. These nodules are basically spherical bodies that consist these reticular elements, these webs that are found inside these lymphoid organs. Okay, and in each follicle, so we're looking at, we have inside here, there's a follicle, and inside here is the web made of reticular cells. Okay, so each follicle will have a germinal center, and inside the germinal center, you're going to have dendritic cells in there and B cells. Okay,